Power armor holds a unique spot within Fallout, being the most iconic piece of equipment in the series, as seen by it adorning every game's cover except for one, New Vegas being the outcast. In the pre-war era, power armor had two primary jobs within the military. Its first and most important implement was by shock troopers, who would use it to cut through Chinese lines. These armor-clad behemoths would hit small sections with unlimited force to break an enemy strongpoint and cause confusion. And oh boy did they bring the pain, with assault teams having access to miniguns, assault rifles, machine guns, missile launchers, 50 cal, Gatling lasers, and the Fat Man nuclear catapult, just to name a few of the weapons at their disposal. Allowing them to hit fast and hard to utterly destroy any resistance. The second role they played was that of infantry support, using their heavy ordnances, ideally the minigun, Gatling laser, or 50 cal in this instance, to suppress the enemy and keep them pinned down, so the soldiers in the unit can move forward and attack the position. Much like how tanks would in our world, but I must emphasize that power armor is not a replacement for tanks or armored fighting vehicles, but was used in tandem with them in a larger combined arms style of warfare, deployed as an intermediary to carry heavy equipment in combination with armor, infantry, air power, and naval support to overcome the enemy in a very American style, extreme mobility to keep the enemy off balance with unlimited firepower to destroy their forces. Or that is how it should have worked in theory, but because of an acute lack of resources, in particular, the war became a quagmire and attritional, so power armor would be the main form of heavy support along the front lines until the last 2 or 3 years of the war, when new fusion equipment was finally rolled off the assembly line in significant numbers, and the American military was able to resume its signature shock and awe tactics to launch a counter-invasion of China. Post-war, the remaining uses of power armor are used in 2 different ways. Either as a status symbol among raiders and tribals who managed to get the dirty mitts on a working suit and have figured out how to use it, or as standard issue combat armor like the Enclave and Brotherhood of Steel. The latter is used to great effect, with their soldiers being highly feared on the battlefield because of the overwhelming firepower they can bring to a fight and seemingly invulnerability to traditional weapons, able to strike off everything from 5.56 to 50 cal and even rockets without so much as staggering. Raider power armor is usually of crude construction with jerry-rigged armor plates instead of the original armoring and is mostly to tell everyone who is in charge. While the Brotherhood utilizes pre-war models, with the T-45 being standard issue and the T-51 being reserved for the upper echelons. But recent developments on the East Coast method of steel have rendered both models obsolete, with newly manufactured T-60 suits equipping the frontline soldiers with a couple prototypes were discovered and copied in DC. However, even with their improved armor scheme, the T-60 is still a second-class old-world tech when compared to the Enclave's XO series, all of which is something I'll cover in a future video, so until then, let's put a pin in this conversation. The most important characteristic of power armor is not its ability to soak up damage like most people think, even though that is very nice, but is in fact the ability for a single man to carry heavy cruiser weapons like they were wielding a rifle to support their squad, platoon, or battalion with concentrated firepower to suppress the enemy and allow their unit to move up, keeping enemies pinned down and soaking up any fire the enemies throw their way as they stomped across no man's land in a modern rendition of walking fire, which was an Entente tactic that was tried and abandoned during World War I, but was made viable again thanks to the brute strength power armor brings to the table, allowing a single man to haul his heavy minigun with a 500 round drum over the enemy's lines, dumping 5mm rounds the entire way in a near constant stream of blood that would cut anyone down foolish enough to show themselves. Multiply that out by 50 power units attacking at once, and you get why these shock trooper tactics are so successful, and so is their squad support roles as well, employing basically the same strategy to cover infantry who would advance with their protective screens, which is especially useful in the urban battlefields US troops found themselves in during the invasion of Shanghai, Nanjing, and many other Chinese cities across East Asia that gave the defenders plenty of opportunities to ambush US troops and Marines as they fought through the streets. Think like the invasion of Stalingrad, Berlin, or Hue, where brutal house-to-house fighting would rage and entire city blocks would be turned to rubble as the Chinese hid among the demolished buildings, and going out into the open was a death sentence. Well, except for those piling power armor that is, who could accompany their fellow infantry through the debris-choked streets and clear out blockhouses, or outright level them with a mini-nuke, changing the balance of power in these intense urban warfare environments and being one of the main reasons why America was able to steamroll through these cities in a record short amount of time. That was despite Chinese numerical superiority and home field advantage, perfectly highlighting how effective and versatile these power units were that can only be made better with aftermarket modifications. Jetpacks, VATS overlays, recon sensors, reactive armor plates, and more that allow a degree of specialization for specific roles depending on the situation. Airborne units would have been deployed with the jetpacks. Those in urban battlefields couldn't make use of reactive armor plates if better to defend against armor-piercing ammunition, while the VATS overlay would make target acquisition easier for everyone and a great support tool. True to American culture, we innovate and can make anything profitable thanks to the miracle that is capitalism, and that didn't exclude suits of power armor, which are used by private corporations for a variety of reasons. Take the excavator suit for example, which was designed with the Garand Mining Co. specifically to increase the productivity of an individual miner, at the same time protecting them from airborne contaminants and cave-ins, and doubling its anti-automation statement by the company to garner favor with the mining unions. or Nuka-Cola and Von Pop, both of which had very similar ideas to buy suits of TFD1 uses walking billboards to promote their soft drinks, or even a prototype suit of XO1 in Nuka-Cola's case thanks to their special connection with the military, more on that in a later video. Granting America's famous soft drink special access to prototype military hardware in exchange for renting out their beverageers for a special project, and this pattern can be seen repeated across almost every major American corporation, most of which have a paint scheme and probably use suits of power armor the same way to advertise their products, trading brainpower to develop military tech for commercial gain or security purposes. So those are the roles power armor play within Fallout, from an augmentation to tanks in the ultimate form of shock troopers to a heavy support unit for infantry to finally its commercial use pre-war. A true American icon that carries on after the Great War with an Enclave and Brotherhood of Steel and a status symbol for Raider leaders. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe, it helps immensely, and also feel free to comment down below to show your support or suggest a future topic.